Griffith Show, Facts and Trivia. Appreciate you being here. Before we get started, guess what? That's right. I ask you to please subscribe and please share these on Facebook. Hey, and if you don't mind, down here, give us a thumbs up. Thank you very much. You're a good bunch of people. After all, you are Mayberians. Today's episode is several different ways that the pilot episode of the Andy Griffith Show was radically different from the rest of the show, or whatever other title I come up with. Let's go on with it. There is no Barney Fife. Don Knotts was nowhere to be found. In fact, the evening the pilot aired, Knotts was playing bridge over at a buddy's house, Pat Harrington. The following morning, Knotts phoned up Andy, his former No Time for Sergeant's co-star, and asked, "Don't you think Andy Taylor ought to have a deputy?" He talked his way right into the Mayberry job. Frances Bavier was not Aunt Bee. Everybody knows Bavier best as Aunt Bee, but in the pilot, the actress portrayed a local widow named Mrs. Henrietta Perkins. Henrietta showed up at the police station to file a complaint, as a mean old Mr. Johnson has been gouging her on rental fees for a suit. She rented the suit for her husband's funeral. Unfortunately, he was buried in it 2 years prior. Meanwhile, Andy does mention a relative named Aunt Lucy. There was a different town drunk. Frank Caddy is most familiar to fans of classic television for his role in the Hooterville universe, having played Sam Drucker on the Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, and Petticoat Junction. In the Andy pilot, however, he is Will Hoople, the town drunk. That's right, he had the role before Otis Campbell. Here's the weird part. Caddy later showed up in the Andy Griffith Show in the rehabilitation of Otis, playing Luke, the town drunk of a nearby Mount Pilot. The jailhouse had a different layout. The jail looked entirely different, from its more rustic interior design to the floor plan. The front entrance was on the opposite side of the stage. Andy's vintage desk with its antique phone sat in a different place. The pilot really played up the dated feel of Mayberry as seen in this ancient coffee maker. Oh, and Andy was promoting Maxwell House, which might seem unfamiliar to those used to Mayberry characters pushing sponsors like Sanka and Post cereals. Andy was much meaner. The premise of the episode is this. Danny Williams is in a hurry to get back to New York for an interview on a big TV show. That's why he blows right through a stop sign in the sleepy town of Mayberry that he happens to be passing through. Andy pulls him over and arrests him. Danny curses Andy as a rotten apple and an imitation Wyatt Earp. Andy bites and suggests Danny is attempting blackmail. Overall, the sheriff and justice of the peace showed a more calculating, spiteful persona. Andy was also the editor of the local newspaper. One of the running gags in the pilot is Andy wears several hats. Mayberry being such a small town, Andy wields much power as a law and order and the press. When Danny threatens to take Andy's corruption to the media, Andy answers the phone as the editor of the Mayberry Gazette. He did not have such a job on the Andy Griffith Show. The mean old rich man had a different name. We mentioned Henrietta Perkins' beef with Mr. Johnson, portrayed by Will Wright. We recognize him as a similar Mayberry character. He played the wealthy and crotchety Ben Weaver on the Andy Griffith Show. Similar Scrooge-like character. Different name and position in town. Andy is constantly whittling. Sheriff Andy typically strums a guitar when kicking back on the Andy Griffith Show. In the pilot, however, he frequently whittles away at some weed with a knife. We see him carving a bird. He frequently whittles away at some wood with a knife. My eyesight's going. We see him carving a bird of some sort, a goose perhaps. And later you can see a hand-hewn squirrel sitting atop his desk. The police cars were a different model. On the Andy Griffith Show, the Mayberry Police Force cruisers around in Ford Galaxy 500s. At the beginning of the pilot, however, Andy pulls up in a more retro-style 1959 Ford Custom 300. You can distinguish the cars from its distinctive tail fin and chrome details on the rear. And Opie has a different pet. This one thing there is one thing at the heart of the pilot that feels true to the Andy Griffith Show, and that is, well, the heart. Andy parents Opie with love and affection, teaching him a lesson with a hug. That feels perfect. Opie enters the police station sad, and Mrs. Bolivar stepped on his pet turtle. Wilfred, the turtle, died, which is why Opie had entirely different animals in the Andy Griffith Show premiere. Dickie the parakeet and Oscar the lizard. We hear Andy talk about the death of his wife here, too. Who stepped on Maul? Opie asked. And that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm having a good time researching, finding these things, and giving them to you. I hope you all really do enjoy it. Please subscribe. Please share these out. I appreciate it. Still can't figure out why people are liking it so much on Facebook and not as many people watching it, but they'll figure it out. Anyway, have a great day. Catch you tomorrow. Don't forget the Facebook trivia page, or trivia question. I'm fumbling all over my words today. And we'll see you tomorrow. God bless, and be praying for you.